see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and for you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day and the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Ooh, the colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, also on the faces of all of you passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I ever know, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. So pretty in the sky, you're also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Oh, what a wonderful world. I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Oh, if you listen to the Jazz Station, you'll hear her on there. I remember the first time, Michelle, I heard you announce, on the radio. I was like, that's our Michelle. I was so proud. You all know jazz is one of my favorite styles or mediums of music. So I always love when we can have Michelle in. Today is a great day, and it is a wonderful world. Never have I felt more connected to the universe itself with how Spirit seems to be bringing into my experience exactly the things I'm holding in consciousness. Exactly the things I'm holding in consciousness. So we often forget how powerful we are, and yet over and over and over, we see how when there's ideas, thoughts, that we're holding with a lot of energy and with a lot of passion, then those things begin to come forward for us. Raise your hand if that's been your experience recently. Also raise your hand if it's been kind of a weird couple of weeks. Okay, all right. You say, well, wait a minute. I didn't ask for this. What showed up at my door? I know I didn't ask for that. Well, here's the thing. Your soul wants more than anything to grow and expand in consciousness. And because this is true, life kind of goes like this, right? And so when you are on the spiritual journey, you can kind of maintain through this, but it doesn't mean this ever stops. It doesn't mean this ever stops, but how we respond, how we shift, change, and grow through those challenges, right, is what we call the soul journey. So don't expect life to be easy. It isn't supposed to be. It's life. You are here to grow and expand in consciousness. It's the only reason you're in the physical realm is to expand your soul. That's it. So I always look to many different teachers and ways to do that. And some thoughts I'd been holding, as many of you know, because we've been doing this series. This is the final week, the final Sunday, and there's no class this Wednesday even. We've been studying this book, Song of Increase. And if you've been here much, you know it's about the wisdom of the honeybees. Well, it's been very interesting to me that over the last few weeks, all these stories about bees and people that love bees have been coming into my life. And one is a man that I've known for about as long as I've lived in Orlando, so almost 12 years. He always does a lot of work for me on my houses and things. And he's really a beautiful human being. He's tall. He's a genius. His hands are about as big as this. One hand is about this big. He works with his hands, total genius, can fix anything. And about 2 weeks ago, he came to my house and pulled out his cell phone and said, hey, I want to show you something. He's not the type of guy to pull out his cell phone and say, hey, I want to show you something. So I paid attention. As a matter of fact, in the whole time I've known him, I've never seen his cell phone. And I've known him for almost 12 years. So he got out his phone. He said, I want to show you something. I just extracted bees from a hive. I said, you did what? I didn't know you did that. Oh, yeah. And then he went on about his business. Well, then Wednesday at class, one of our members, Robert, wave your hand back there. Robert, wave your hand. He came to class Wednesday and he said, I've got these bees in this house and I got to get rid of them. He said, everybody calls me the do-gooder contractor because they know I'm going to try to help them get rid of these bees, a humane way. He said, one guy wants to charge $300, another guy wants to charge $600. I said, well, I know somebody who can maybe help. So I reached out to my friend with the big hands, the tall beard. And I said, hey, Larry, sorry to bother you, but, I don't think I've ever texted this man in my life. But, hey, would you be willing and what would you charge? And he said, oh, I don't charge. I do it for the bees. Sweet. Right, so not only was Robert there and three of our other members and myself, so you know how this is the energy I've been holding. So I brought a couple of pictures so you could see from the event. There I am with Larry. Now, I did not have quite the right gear on. And I did get stung 7 times. And so did Larry. He got 7 stings. But actually the stings are healing. And I forgot to say one thing about that last service. But okay, guys, show the other picture. So that's the hive in there. Can you see that? That's a little over 10,000 bees, he figured. Yeah, and then there's a short little 9-second video I took just so you could get an idea of how that's how close I was to the bees. And the only thing was, I was up on a ladder. And it seemed like a good idea at the time, but as the bees started flying towards me, I said, okay, this is going to be a spiritual experience. So I'm like holding my phone and. But I remained still and calm, and I didn't get stung at all up there. As a matter of fact, they were really uninterested. One of the things the author says in the book is that the stings can be very healing, because when her joints had been really sore from picking berries or something all day, and when she went out to her hive, a bee stung her, and the healing energy from that made her joints not be sore right away. So without going into detail for mine and where they were, which is interesting. But the one that I do want to share that I forgot last service stung me right here. And I was a little nervous going in, obviously, to this situation. But the sting, when it stung me here, it was a very light, and then I felt the spread like this, but it was nothing but healing, and then all the pain just lifted. And I've been working on throat chakra for about 4 years. So I really felt the blessing of the bees there. So I just want to tell you, whatever you hold in consciousness does come to fruition. You know, I had to go through a few stings, but I did receive the healing energy, and I know it. So today, the title is Song of the World. So we are to bring our healed energy, healing energy, to the world, and that is so, so important. So number 1 today, if you were taking notes, would be called Tuning In. Tuning in. To tune in means I move from the outward world to the inner world. I tune in. It means that I move from the ego nature to spirit, to the soul of me. Right? It means I'm not going to force my way because I've tuned in. I'm going to raise my consciousness to a higher awareness, the awareness of God in me, in and through my soul. And even in this moment, I don't know if you can tell, and this happened at the 9-2, as soon as I said tune in, the energy in the room shifted. Tune in. When you want to tune in and move your attention from here to the heart. Tuning in means I'm listening with my soul, not just with my human ears, not with my mind, but with the heart and soul of me. Tuning in. We have to get in the right vibration to tune into spirit. Everything we've been discussing has a certain vibrational reality. Hatred has a reality, love has a reality, and we want to tune into this highest frequency possible that we can access. Again, this is at the level of the soul, not the ego. So I'm tuning in. Say with me, I'm tuning in. Together. I'm tuning in. I'm tuning in. Number 2, I'm listening to nature. Nature, even naming something nature, we instantly feel separate. Yes, we listen to nature, but we are also nature. In the book, so many of you know that I'm taking the principles in the book and just jumping off of those. In the book, she talks a lot about learning to listen even to the plants in her biodynamic farm. That rather than planting a certain thing a certain place because you like the color or you want it there, in fact, you're listening to what wants to be there and what the plant needs. Does that make sense? Any of you who work with plants at all know there's a dialogue that happens if you're paying attention. And we don't want to pour chemicals in there to make something grow, because if it's planted in the right place, it'll grow probably on its own pretty naturally. When I was a kid, I was like maybe 7 or 8 years old, and I wanted to plant cucumbers. I don't know why I got this in my mind, but there was this area of our yard that I thought would be perfect for cucumbers. And you know, I'm 7 or 8, so I didn't know anything, really. But, so I said to my Mom, I really want to plant cucumbers here. She said, honey, it's out of season. I said, well, I know that, but I want to plant cucumbers, and I want to plant them there. You know, she's thinking, I'm the youngest of 9. Go ahead. You know what I mean? She's like, I'm worn out, honey. Go plant the cucumbers. Get out of the house. You know what I mean? Do whatever, you know. So I go out there and I dig my little holes and I plant my little cucumbers. Well, I want you to know those things came up and we had scores of cucumbers. So Mama said, well, you better go pick them so we can eat them. I said, I don't even like cucumbers. But they grew, and I felt like the ground there needed it. That's what the ground needed and the ground wanted. And so I made the cucumbers. So then, of course, we made pickles and all that stuff, and I liked those, so that was all right. So the ground literally will speak to us because it's alive with universal energy. Everything is. So if we apply this to ourselves, though, what environment do we need to be in to grow? This is an important question. This is an important question for our lives. Sometimes it means things need to change, and that can be a very difficult part of the soul journey. It can also mean inviting new energies into your life. It can also mean a change. Right? So when we're listening to what it is our soul needs to grow, this is a very, very important conversation to be having. Sometimes we need people to remind us of what our true nature is. So it might mean, getting a teacher or someone to support us on the journey. It might mean that. So first we tune in and then we really listen. And again, listen not just with the human ears, but with the soul. And some of us are real feelers. We'll just feel a guidance. Some of us are knowers. We say, I know that's mine to do. And some of us will even get a vision of what's next. So there's seers, feelers, knowers, and there's even, clairaudient, who hear. Some people actually hear. I think that's cool. If anybody's that, let me know. I want your autograph or something. I think that's cool. So I'm listening to nature. I want to really listen. Here on our property, we've been through that. We've done so many things on the property since I've been here. We really felt like the land needed a playground for the kids. And that just happened kind of easily and magically. And then we were really guided to bring in a garden, and that happened easily and magically. And then when that was time to go, that went, and then we put a labyrinth there. And that feels just like what's right there now. It just feels like a real spiritual anchor. But it was because we were listening, because the land itself is God itself, himself. Right? There's no separation. The great artist, Jackson Pollock, raise your hand if you know who that great artist is, just all kind of crazy stuff. And in an interview, somebody said, why don't you paint things, like nature pictures? He said, I am nature. So what comes out of me is nature. It just may look different than you're expecting, right? So number 1, tune in. Number 2, listen to nature. Number 3, honor your need to expand. Say with me, I honor my need to expand. Together. I honor my need to expand. I honor my need to expand. So I want to read to you, too, a little bit out of the book on this one. But honor the need to expand. If you're dealing with plants, some plants don't want to be all trimmed back and neat and perfect. They want to just be wild and grow. Right? They just want to be free to express. Well, you are exactly that way as a soul. Your soul needs to be free to express who it is. And I'll tell you, this listening piece, without the listening piece, you can't really honor your need to expand because you don't even know where you're going if you're not listening first. Right? And sometimes the listening can be as small as honoring our feelings, and sometimes it can be as big as honoring our sexuality. That important. It can be any number of things on the listening. But then once you get it, that means honoring your need to expand means then moving forward into whatever is yours to do. Right? So you don't want to be limited. You don't want to be limited by circumstance. You don't want to let somebody trim you up to the point that you don't know who you are anymore. You want to be free to expand. Free to expand. Say with me one more time, I honor my need to expand. Together. I honor my need to expand. So just right now, put your arms out. Be careful the person next to you. Don't pop them in the face. Say, let's expand together. Tell them, let's expand together. Let's expand together. Oh, I got to expand right out of this jacket. Whew, it's hot up here, y'all. Okay, I want to read from page 91, and you don't have to turn it down too much because it'll be like a meat locker for everyone else. It's just the lights. Or I might be going through the change. I don't know. It's a personal summer. Okay, the bottom of page 91. I'm expanding right out. The heat. The men are going, what? Okay. There is menopause too, just so you know. I'm going to read a little bit of a long section in the book because I believe it's so beautiful. I don't know. A friend of mine called me and said, "You're really into this book." I said, "I don't know. I just think something's come along at just the right time, and I just really paid attention to this one, and it's really blessed my life and brought really interesting experiences." As a gardener, I have a responsibility to listen and respond to these plants, so I too am included in the conversation. Until I paid attention, I hadn't realized my edge beds restrained the plant's desire to expand, and I assumed that was frustrating for them. Now that I understand the plant's communication, I comply with their desires. Plants this healthy need to expand. Taking a signal from their health, I give them more places where they can do what they intend. That's the best I can do as a human. When I add minerals to the soil and plant seeds, bees assist with plant migration in a deeper, more sacred way. In the awareness of a plant's history, they provide a mysterious and crucial service, witnessing and acknowledging the essential presence of the plants. In physics, we read about the capacity of the observer to change the observed. Witnessing is a powerful, little understood cosmic act or force. Each time the bees move from flower to flower, they bring their witnessing power to bear, and a jolt of life force is injected into the plant. The bees tell me that this interaction brings a trembling delight to the plant beings and creates joy throughout nature. This is our role as well. This is our role as well. Number 4, we're going to talk about today, is to protect what matters most. Protect what matters most. If you're a parent, you know what that means. Your little one. Protect what matters most. In the bee kingdom, obviously, it's the queen. When my friend was telling me about his extraction, he said his extraction of the bees, the last one he did, he said I couldn't get the queen because they rally all around and will give their lives in her honor, protecting her. So yes, it applies to parents, to children, but it even applies to ourselves. We protect what matters most. We don't let people take our most sacredness. We protect our bodies and our souls, and yes, even our feelings. We don't let people tell us what we feel or what we think is not right. We protect what matters most, what is sacred, and that's you. I protect what matters most. Say that with me. I protect what matters most. I protect what matters most. Your soul is the most important thing, and from there, all the other actions in your life come. As a parent, I've never understood protection the way I do now that I'm a parent of my child. That's number one. That's number one. They will never feel loved if they're not protected. I protect what matters most. This statement's been with me since I started reading the book, and it will not let me go. So I know it's working on me on a lot of levels, right? Because I was not protected. So I know what that feels like to not be protected. Many of us in here, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If there's violence in the home, if there's abuse of any kind in the home, even emotional abuse, then you were not protected. I protect what matters most. That's a wonderful statement for us to be thinking about on the soul journey. I protect what matters most. That which is sacred. And you as a being are sacred. Say to the person next to you, protect what matters most. Protect what matters most. When you're learning this lesson, I know from experience, you're going to get it in every aspect of your life. I've been working a few lessons, and I've dealt with it in relationship. I've dealt with it with friends. I've dealt with it with a doctor. I've dealt with it. It's amazing how something keeps coming up to be learned, and we don't want to curse that. We want to honor that. And you don't want to shame yourself if it keeps coming up. It just means a deeper learning, right? So, and this is one for me. I just know that this lesson, I've been learning it for a very long time, and I'm still learning it. I'm consistently having to, as your minister, protect you from people that want to come in and market to the church. You have no idea how many times I say no to people that want to come in and do their, well, I have a book. I say, well, God bless you. I do too. I'm just kidding. I don't say that. Maybe on the inside. Was that my inside voice? I say, we're not a market. We're a spiritual community. So, yeah, we bring in certain people, but only if they're in alignment, because I'm protective of you. When we're in a spiritual place, we tend to be kind of vulnerable, and we just think whoever brings in, the minister signed off on it, so it must be good. So I've had to learn that one over the years, because I've had people come in and it looked good and shiny and sweet, and then, So now it's by invitation. Because I'm protective of you in your process. I want to honor you in your spiritual process. So I have to, it's like mother hen over you all on these things. I have to protect what matters most. I have to protect what matters most, and that's you. And your little ones that you entrust to us. We're so blessed to have Vanessa as our kid and teen ministry coordinator. She's not here today, of course, because she's away with the teens in Atlanta. Yeah, she's great. Yeah, you should clap for that. So the 4 things we're focusing on today, and I want to repeat them because we're about to go into meditation. Number 1 is what? Tuning in. Number 2, listening to nature, which includes us, remember? And definitely in the environment we find ourselves. Number 3, honor your need to expand, whatever that may be for you. It may be on a personal level, it may be on a professional level. Honor the need to expand. And then finally, the last one, I protect what matters most.